Why women panic when you stop reaching out. Stoic strategy that works. Have you ever looked at your phone, knowing you could text her but you didn't? Not because you stopped caring, but because something inside you changed. You realized you've been giving your time, energy, and attention to someone who stopped earning it a long time ago. This isn't about playing games. It's about waking up. Every man reaches a point where he stops, not out of anger or revenge, but out of clarity. You stop talking, not to punish her, but because you finally hear yourself. And when you pull away, something shifts. She notices. Not right away. Not while she's busy scrolling, pretending nothing's changed. But slowly, when the silence gets louder than any fight you've ever had. That's when the truth starts to burn in her mind. Not because you're being cold, but because you're finally being warm to yourself. When a man stops chasing, stops explaining, stops justifying, he becomes someone she can't control anymore. That shift is powerful. That's when she starts watching. That's when she starts remembering. That's when the masks fall. Most men flinch. They break. They go back. But not you. Not this time. This time, you'll see it through. You'll find out what really happens when you walk away, what she does when she can't feel you anymore, and why the silence is the most powerful thing you've ever done. Say it right now. I choose silence. Make it your promise to yourself. From this moment on, you don't chase. You lead. First, she notices the silence. She feels the change, the absence of energy she once took for granted. You were always there, showing up, patient, even when overlooked or dismissed. Now you're gone, not as a trick, but as a decision born from strength and clarity. She doesn't know how to handle it. Not because she doesn't care, but because she never thought your care had to be earned. It starts small. She checks her phone. She replays your last message. She lingers on your name in her contacts, unsure if reaching out will bring closure or cost her dignity. She acts confident online, posts about growth and happiness. But inside, she's scrambling to figure out what's happening. You weren't supposed to vanish. You weren't supposed to rise without warning. Now she's left with her own questions echoing where you used to be. She wonders if there were signs she missed. She can't predict you anymore. You've become unreadable, unavailable, untouchable, not angry, not bitter, but peaceful. And that peace unsettles her more than any fight ever did. Because in arguments, she still had your attention. But this isn't an argument. This is distance, so complete it shows her the truth. Her power was never in how loud she could shout, but in how much of your attention she could hold. Now you've taken that attention back and given it to yourself. Your goals, your strength, your growth, she sees it. She thought you would always stay the same, but now she's watching you become a man who no longer needs her applause, her permission, or her recognition to rise. And that's when it truly hits her. Not when you blocked her. Not when you disappeared from social media. Not even when you stopped liking her pictures. It hits when she realizes she's no longer important in the life of a man who once made her his world. That absence begins to haunt her. At first, it's not regret, it's confusion. She can't understand why the games that always worked before don't work this time. Why the patterns that pulled other men back are falling flat with you. And that confusion forces her to notice more than just your silence. She starts to notice her own emptiness. Her lack of real connection. Her need to feel needed instead of truly being worthy. Not with drama, but with dignity. She feels it heavy. She posts more to look happy, laughs louder to be noticed. But deep down, she knows none of it replaces the presence of the man she thought would never leave. In that quiet realization, she sees the truth. Not just that you're gone, but that you never begged to stay. And that changes everything. As the silence settles, it begins to eat at her. The likes, the comments, the group chats can't cover it up. She remembers your last conversation, the pauses in your voice, the way you stopped double texting, and wonders if you were saying goodbye without saying the words. She realizes your absence isn't random, it's intentional. And that makes it powerful. So, she keeps checking your page. Not once, but daily. Searching for a sign that she still matters, a quote that hints at missing her, a new follow that sparks jealousy, Anything that proves she still has a piece of your attention. Because your attention was oxygen. And now she's suffocating without it. But every time she finds nothing, her curiosity grows heavier. It pulls her back into memories she tried to bury. The way she laughed at your jokes, the nights you stayed on the phone, the way you made her feel grounded when the world felt chaotic. She wonders if you still think of her. She won't say it out loud. She won't message you first. But inside, she's caught in the storm of her own thoughts, asking herself where you are, who you're with, and if they see the value in you that she missed. And that's what unsettles her most. Not just your silence, but the fact that for the first time, the script she always relied on doesn't work anymore. She was used to leaving and you waiting, to testing you and you giving in. But now she doesn't even know if you're watching anymore. And that uncertainty hurts her more than a goodbye. Because if you said goodbye, she could chase. If you blocked her, she could call you bitter. If you fought, she could feel your fire. But this silence leaves her trapped in her own head, chasing answers that aren't there. What begins as curiosity slowly turns into obsession, hidden under denial. Even when she's out with friends, smiling, drinking, and posting the pictures you used to compliment, she's secretly watching for your name in her views. She's listening for your voice in old memories that refuse to fade. And that curiosity starts pulling at her sense of self, making her question her choices and remember how often she pushed away men who cared, only to chase versions of them in men who could never measure up. This is the part no one talks about, how curiosity becomes regret. It grows quietly while she shows confidence to the world. But inside, she knows she can't replace the energy you brought, the grounded, steady, focused presence. By the time she realizes this, it's too late. Because you're not watching anymore. You're not circling around her life. You're building your own. Not chasing another woman, but chasing your purpose. And that's when everything shifts. Not because you chased her, but because she finally stopped running and had to face the space you left behind. A space filled not with noise, but with clarity. When the silence becomes too heavy, she tries to provoke you. It's not about missing you, it's about regaining control. She realizes rereading old texts won't give her answers, and your absence won't explain itself. So she doesn't reach out with honesty. She doesn't admit regret. Instead, she tries to push her buttons, hoping for any reaction. Because if you respond, even with anger, she knows she still has some hold on you. So she makes her move through visibility. A late-night post with a cryptic caption. A picture with someone she once called just a friend. A story that echoes an inside joke only you would catch. But this time, you don't react. And that silence stings. So she tries harder. She posts more directly, wearing something you once said you loved, writing something only you'd understand. But again, nothing. And every time you don't engage, she feels it like rejection. Not because of the post itself, but because you refuse to chase the breadcrumb. Frustration replaces confidence. Your silence isn't just distance, it challenges her belief in herself. She always thought she could make you react. But now she sees you've grown past those triggers. She can't find the strings to pull anymore, and that breaks something pride alone can't fix. So she tries through mutual friends. Make sure word reaches you that she's glowing, that she's moved on, that someone new is around. But still, no reaction. And that unsettles her more than anger ever could. Because anger can still be manipulated. Hurt can still be reeled back. But indifference? That's untouchable. Eventually, she tries direct contact. A short message, "Hope you're good," or "This reminded me of you." Not because she cares, but because she wants to measure her relevance in your life. If you respond too quickly, she feels powerful again. If you don't, she tells herself you're bitter. But deep down, she fears the truth. You're not bitter. You're just done. And that fear cuts the deepest when the tests fail. She puts on a new mask, pretending she's moved on. She posts louder, stages happiness, surrounds herself with people just to prove she's thriving. But it's not real. It's denial dressed as freedom. She wants the world to believe it, hoping she'll believe it too. Trips, parties, captions about self-love, all of it meant to bait your curiosity. But you're not watching, and that's why she keeps posting. She may date casually, entertain men who compliment her, men who smile and flatter her. But they don't compare. Their words feel shallow, their presence temporary, their excitement fleeting. And in those quiet comparisons, she starts to realize what she lost. Not just a man, but a presence, a depth, a grounding energy she'll never find in someone who only sees her surface. She tries to shake it off, travels, posts more, stands next to someone new hoping you'll see. But inside, she knows the truth. She hasn't found someone better. She's found someone easier. Someone who never saw her worst and stayed. Someone who didn't have the strength to walk away when she crossed the line. And that difference makes everything else feel hollow. At night, when the world stops watching, that's when your name comes back. Not in anger, but in longing. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. And now she faces the truth she's been running from. Pretending to move on isn't the same as healing. Distraction isn't closure. And in a world that rewards shallow attention, she lost the one man who brought her depth. And that's when the weight of her loss finally settles in. Not because you said a word, but because you didn't have to. Your attention wasn't cheap, your affection wasn't forced, and your value came from discipline, not desperation. Now she starts to crave what she once dismissed: your consistency, your steadiness, your depth. She realizes she never needed attention from everyone. She needed substance from one man. When she had it, she mistook it for weakness. Now she sees it was rare. To fill the emptiness, she tries to stand out more, dressing better, laughing louder, posting more, hoping the reactions will make her feel fine. But the rush fades quickly, leaving her emptier than before. Because she's not just missing you, she's realizing she lost something few women ever find: security without control. She traded what she needed for noise, and now every like and comment just reminds her that what she lost has been replaced, not by another woman, but by your self-worth. She tries to find another man who gives her the same calm, but it exhausts her. Because she isn't chasing admiration anymore, she's chasing a ghost. No matter how many people compliment her, she listens for one voice. Yours. The one that no longer speaks. Not out of anger, but because you're done trying to prove yourself to someone who only saw your value once it was gone. So she scrolls through empty comments, fake smiles, and staged photos, but deep down she knows real validation never came from outside. It came from you, the man who chose her without needing her. And she lost that when she lost you. She wanted to replace you quickly, not compare you. That was the plan. Find someone easier, someone who gave without limits. But when she's with a man who doesn't carry the same weight, doesn't look at her the way you did, doesn't listen or know when to speak or stay silent, she starts comparing without meaning to. Not with anger, but with regret. Because he's not you. She notices the small things, the way he texts, the way he talks, the way his presence feels shallow. She tells herself to stop comparing, but she can't. Every trait she took for granted in you is missing in him. And she realizes she left behind something built, and now she's stuck with something borrowed. She told herself you weren't that special, until she saw that no one else brought peace to her chaos like you did. Every new face feels the same, and the past grows clearer. Every disappointment brings your name back to her mind. Not because she wants to return, but because she wishes she never left. Because compared to something real, everything else feels fake. And that haunts her. Not because you were perfect, but because you were authentic. You didn't say what she wanted to hear, you said what she needed to hear. You didn't give her everything for free, you made sure it was respected. And now she has what she thought she wanted, but none of it matters. Because it doesn't feel like you. And once a woman knows the difference between being admired and being respected, she can't unsee it. Now, every man that follows feels smaller, weaker, less steady. They chase her attention, but you sought her truth. And no one else can win that comparison. The truth finally comes. Not when she's with someone else, not when she posts another photo pretending she's free, not even when she sees you doing well without her. It comes when she's alone, when the noise stops, when she faces herself. The truth doesn't shout, it whispers. It reminds her that you stayed steady when she was unstable, calm when she was wild, forgiving when she tested you, strong when she pushed. And now the truth hurts, not because you're unreachable, but because you've grown, and she feels it. She knows you've leveled up while she's still stuck in old patterns, chasing highs, avoiding depth. She sees that you turned pain into discipline, doubt into focus, heartbreak into strength. And she realizes she wasn't the lesson. You were. And she failed. Not because you wanted too much, but because she was too used to too little. The real cost wasn't losing a man. It was losing the only man who made her want to grow. The one who didn't worship her, but challenged her to be better. And now, she knows the truth. She lost the man who showed her what real love and respect felt like. And that loss is permanent. What she carries now isn't something she shows publicly. It's private. It lives in the quiet moments where regret sits heavy, where honesty hurts, where the weight of knowing you're not coming back is stronger than anything you ever said. She feels it fully now. Not because she's healed, but because she's awake. And in that awakening, she doesn't find hope. She finds loss. She didn't just lose a man. She lost the chance to grow beside you. And now you've grown without her. But this isn't about her anymore. It's about you. About your growth. Not the kind you post online to get her attention, but the kind that transforms you from the inside out. Everything you once gave her, your effort, loyalty, patience, that belongs to you now. You can't waste it on someone who couldn't see your worth when it mattered. So stop wondering if she'll come back. Stop checking if she's watching. Stop falling for the little traps she sets. Posts, new guys, subtle shade, passive-aggressive messages. None of that is power. It's just proof of her loss. Your only job now is to not take the bait. Not because you're avoiding her, but because you've outgrown her games. You're done living in emotional quicksand. You're done letting your peace come second to someone else's confusion. You stop playing, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Because your energy is currency. And every time you spend it decoding mixed signals, you rob yourself of your future, your vision, your empire. That empire doesn't need her validation, her presence, or her regret. It only needs your discipline. Discipline to show up for yourself daily. To go to the gym not from anger, but from commitment. To set goals and take action. To use your nights for progress, not reaction. To build a mind so sharp and a body so strong that no woman becomes a distraction. The real trap isn't her. It's your need to be seen by someone who refused to see you when she had the chance. Once you let go of that, once you stop seeking closure and start chasing your purpose, everything changes. Your life becomes about impact, not validation. About legacy, not ego. And here's the truth. When a man grows without needing to be noticed, he becomes unforgettable. Not because he's loud, but because he's undeniable. While she posts stories to get attention, you'll be out in the real world building something real, something lasting. And your presence will be so solid, so unshakable, that even if she came back begging, you'd see clearly. The man who once wanted her attention no longer exists. In his place stands someone with vision, focus, and unshakable standards. Not because of her, but because you chose to stop living below your potential. You chose to love yourself enough to walk away. Enough to never go back to the man you once were just to comfort someone who didn't grow with you. The truth is, the only thing worse than losing her would be losing yourself trying to win her back. When you understand that you don't need closure, your closure. And your life becomes proof that losing her was only the beginning of becoming who you were meant to be. Most men repeat the same cycle, falling for the same traps, losing themselves in women who never planned to grow with them, and waking up years later full of regret. But not you. Not this time. Because now you know better. And when a man knows better, he either changes his life or proves he never wanted to.